to the Expectative Podcast, Episode 2. We'll be discussing Leviathan Wakes, Chapters 11 through 21. This is part of the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey. I'm Joe, and I'm here with James. And James, Donnager begins with the Donnager was ugly. So they boarded the Donnager. Basically, Holden is debriefed, and Captain Yao insists that the MCRN has nothing to do with the attacks that are on there or the Kant's destruction. Basically, they're taken to a holding cell. How do you feel about?
It's not really a holding cell. It's just a lockdown living quarters.
Yeah, and I think they're not on there for very long before those 6 stealth ships that were following them.
Doesn't even make it through this entire debriefing.
Yeah, so it was very interesting how they got out of that, though. But just the subtlety of the way he...
I didn't like the way they got out of it, right? What the fuck does...
Well, they sealed off that room first to make sure that they didn't lose air.
So that was interesting, but in reality, like... Why do they even care that these people make it off the ship? That you're going to send a Marine detachment to save their ass? Why do you care?
Well,
they say it in there, but
Lieutenant Kelly?
Yeah.
He wants them to escape because they'll basically, affirm, the MCRN's, I guess, innocence. But I guess
when
there's no telling.
Capital ship of your entire navy gets blown to pieces. I don't think anyone's going to care if you're innocent or not. You're just going to look weak.
Well, it at least looks like you're either...
It's like if we're floating around off the coast of China and they just take out our top-tier aircraft carrier without even breaking a sweat.
Yeah, I mean, I think that alone either proves the MCRN's innocence or they're willing to make that kind of sacrifice to make themselves look innocent.
I guess that's going to depend on the kind of wealth, but then you lose the training that went into all of their soldiers, so unless you think they're all garbage, why sacrifice them?
Well, I mean, Lieutenant Kelly didn't seem like garbage. He seemed like a...
Yeah.
He didn't seem like a throwaway person.
None of them did.
Yeah.
What's the name of the guy that was bouncing around for going from tunnel to tunnel when they finally made it into the hangar? Are you calling me little? That's what made me chuckle. You calling me little, sir?
Yeah, that whole fight was pretty fun. But I want to touch on real quick before that happened. Just the subtlety of their writing, I think, threw me off a bit because basically the way they described Shed's death.
What, just a pew?
Or basically,
and he's dead.
Yeah, I think his head got blown off by a railgun. But he's like, just the way I'm reading it, they're like, yeah, they were just sitting in the room, and then Shed's head became a pool of blood. And I was like, what? It was like, it was just subtly...
And it's cool that they went right into it, too, because, it's kind of cool. They went right into it from a low gravity perspective, too, so it wasn't even just like a pool of blood, it was like a...
It was floating.
Yeah. And then everything starts blasting away, and they... used what? Was it like a lunch tray or something to block off the one side and a notebook on the other side or some shit?
Yeah, you know what it reminded me of? I forget what Star Trek movie it is, but the one...
You lost me.
I think...
I haven't seen it.
I think it's the 4th one?
Sure.
But there's ones with Klingons where they start shooting them with guns and their blood's like floating in the air. And then they had to use the metal boots to stay on the ground.
They use the metal boots in that, too.
Yep.
The track boots, I think they're calling them.
Yeah, I feel like a poor Star Trek fan not knowing that movie right now. But I do plan to go through Star Trek eventually as well. But
that's how I feel. I'm a Wars fan, and Wars isn't worth following anymore. So, I've lost my childhood investment in the sci-fi. Thanks, Disney.
I don't know. It depends on what you're watching. Like, that sequel trilogy was definitely not enjoyable. But everything else that they put out...
Han Solo was enjoyable? Han Solo was enjoyable. Just the sequel wasn't enjoyable, huh? just the sequel. Come on, defend Han Solo for me.
I will still place Solo above those 3 sequel movies.
Sure. And like the best one was Rogue Squadron. Not Rogue Squadron?
Rogue One.
Rogue One, yeah. And you went into it knowing, yes, they're going to succeed. And I don't care what happens to these characters afterward. Because no matter what, you know Death Star plans get out. So I don't care what you do. And that made it more enjoyable. Because Disney couldn't, not Disney, but the writers couldn't mess with the universe.
Yeah, well, I'm hearing that the Andor show is pretty good too.
Yeah,
it's probably rated the
like
highest, but I haven't seen it yet. Mandalorian is good as well, but honestly, one of my favorite shows that Disney's put out has been Rebels. I know it's CGI animated, but it's still one of the.
That's one where, and everyone seems to like. What was the follow up to that? The something Squad.
Well, Rebels.
Is it Squad? What's it called?
Rebels takes place right before Rogue One. The one that you're talking, I think you're thinking of Bad Batch.
Yes,
that's a follow up to Clone Wars. So it's
okay.
it's right. It's not as
way
close
before.
to. Yeah.
Well, not way before, but before. Okay, whatever.
I think it's like 20
anyway,
years. Something
we're
like
talking
that.
about Star Wars. That's the wrong franchise.
It doesn't matter. I'm sure. I can guarantee you, this series is inspired by Star Wars in some capacity.
It sounded like you just said it was inspired by Star Trek.
Star Trek as well.
Movie 4.
I don't know if it's 4, so don't quote me on that. It's one of the 6. It's one of the ones with Kirk. It's one of the 6 with Kirk in it. So it's one of the 6 with Kirk in it. But yeah, the subtlety of just describing.
I
had to go back and read it to make sure I read what I read because it was so casually.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that
written.
subtle though. Like that's just complete juxtaposition. Like it's just written. I mean, I guess I get your subtlety in the transition, but
I don't know. I feel like
there's
if I
nothing
were
subtle
writing
about it. It's completely abrupt, and bam, his head was gone. His head is gone. Like what?
I think the reaction was a little strange to me.
Who's?
All of them, because they all band together like this was like they were military. Like this is but they're supposed to be ice truck drivers, not drivers. Well, the space version of that. So why would they?
Agree with you. 2 of them are military.
Ex-military, technically.
They put a lot of time in.
Alright, I guess.
Your pilot put a lot of time in, and Holden put a lot of time. Holden put a lot of time in.
Yeah.
But
I guess that's a good point.
But even beyond, and Holden is the one that's caught off guard. He doesn't react. He's the one that reacts the slowest, if I remember. But
he does. But then he instructs. He gives everybody the instructions on what to do.
Yeah. Afterward, like stop panicking and start doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But your initial reactions, your pilot is the one, like the first guy to react, and that makes sense. Like pilots are twitchy, and he's military. And then your second person to react was what's her face, and she's described as being near robotic the whole time anyway. So until she starts doing the drunk karaoke, she seems like a robot anyway. So like,
yeah. Well, I think this
Naomi, is it Naomi?
Yeah. Well, I think I mentioned in the first episode that I felt that this crew was kind of devoid of personality, but that I definitely have changed my mind since then. Either that or I've grown more fondly of them, I should say. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I felt like they were pretty generic in the beginning, but now I think their personalities are fine. I think the writers got a hold of their personalities and they're really coming through this time.
The other thing I will say, you say they act well trained, even though they're not supposed to be well trained.
Well, I didn't say like that they were reacting like military. I meant like they were reacting like
very coordinated,
like they were prepared, like coordinated, like they were prepared for this.
So I will counter you with the concept of it's almost like they're fishermen and they need to react to their boat starting to take on water. If you're out there all the time, you're just going to have a reaction drilled into you, even if it's just... So they just react on instinct, I think.
Yeah, I guess it's fair enough.
Always in space. Always.
Yeah, I guess space would be drilled into their heads.
So, like, don't let our air run out or we all die. Probably just nailed into their heads. They didn't exactly grab the best stuff until... Was it Naomi yells at Holden, I think, to get some kind of space caulk?
If they're in a vacuum, I think anything will work. Anything that's bigger than that hole.
It was saying, I don't remember if she tried to use a book or something, and the air was still getting through, but it was like just mostly blocked, but still getting through.
Yeah. And
she made him get some kind of like space glue stuff to seal it up.
Space glue. Is that the technical term for it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a space glue song in line with that Tyrion Lannister SNL thing about space paintings.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that.
Never mind.
Okay.
That wasn't Tyrion Lannister, but
yeah,
I can't remember his name.
I haven't watched Saturday Night Live since since it became unwatchable. But let's see. I have Lieutenant Kelly was shot
a bunch of times. And blown up.
And still survived that for at least a little bit.
There's something weird about the stats. What was it? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What's that?
The
say it so the microphone can record it.
Don't they point out that he knew he was going to die as soon as the ship got off and the gravity came into the little ship that they were on or something like that?
Yeah, it seemed like it. It seemed like he was pretty convinced. So I guess they get him. I guess he dies. They still. I guess they wanted to give him a proper burial. I guess
send off.
Yeah, just to keep up appearances. I don't think they actually gave a shit.
I mean, it could be. It could be.
I mean, they did help save their lives, so I think they should have at least a little bit of an attachment to him.
On some level, though, how it could be, he is just a stand-in for everybody they've just lost, because they haven't really had a funeral for anybody yet.
Yeah.
So he's an actual carcass to send out.
Yeah, I think Shed's body was left behind, right?
Yeah, when they were getting out of the airlock, or not airlock, but through the plastic sheeting and down the whatever. But even there, it doesn't. I know it says that weeks have passed or some crap while they were waiting for the Martian ship to catch up. Well, not to catch up to them, but to meet up with them.
Yeah.
But they don't really have anything in writing that goes into them really marking some sort of mourning for the rest of the crew. They're all just, I think you mostly just get Holden's internal depression about it, but...
Yeah, well, let me nail get drunk. So that...
A couple of times.
Yeah, and then they get drunk again on Tycho Station. Speaking of which, that was their decision, was to head there and take up Fred Johnson's offer.
What name?
What, Fred Johnson?
John Smith.
No,
Fred Johnson.
What's wrong with it? It's a basic name.
Yeah. How am I going to make sure you never remember this character in the future? Fred Johnson.
Well, I wrote it down, so that's how.
Yeah. Everyone else has something to their name that isn't just what? Fred Johnson.
Yeah. Well, what's the other guy's name? Miller is Josephus.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, Havelock was a weird name.
Didn't you say you peeked
Havelock.
at the show? And apparently it is Havelock.
Yeah. I keep calling him Havelock because I keep thinking like Haven. But, yeah. And the show.
I guess it makes sense. You don't say, I have this drink, but I'm gonna...
I know, but in my mind, like I'm thinking Haven and Havelock is what I call them that. That's where I'm taking. I didn't think Havelock.
Well, you know how the English language is.
Sure.
So, adding a letter changes the way the other letters are pronounced for no reason.
Had someone point out that Gallagher sketch to me today.
What's that?
So he did a thing where, do you remember those things from gym class where it was like one team had 2 flippies and the other team had 2 flippies and they keep track of your score from gym class?
Yeah.
He did a skit with English words where he's just flipping. He's like, this doesn't get tomb and comb, and he goes on and on about it, and then he finally ends it with, and he flips it over and it's thumb or something like that, and he's like, and this doesn't sound like that, and thumb, and then he flips it over to the final one, and it's just dumb. And he leaves that there for a second and then walks away without making his point, because dumb itself was the point of our language.
Yeah. And then I'm sure he smashed a watermelon after.
I mean, probably as part of his other gag, but yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Well, yeah. So we got to meet Fred Johnson. What'd you think of him? You think there's more there?
I think they want you to think there's more there.
You don't think so?
He seems kind of insidious, but he's also...
Well, they fully explained why he's being so nice to him, too. Like, they made a point to fully explain it.
Yeah, and he admits to the game that he's playing and why he's playing it to get them to stay, but... I don't know that I buy it. But I also don't know, with everything else they've given about his character between his background last time and our half a chapter interaction in this time, I think, it wasn't a whole lot. I don't know that I care.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
he doesn't, like, his character, again, and maybe it's just the name, but Fred Johnson, oh boy. Like, you're killing off all these other people. And I think it was you that pointed out that these were George R. R. Martin.
I think one of them. I
writers?
don't know which one. The assistant.
Well, yeah, obviously he's the writer, even though he's forgotten how to write. But
he writes at least a sentence a day, so he's...
And then he erases it and goes, "Oh, wake up tomorrow and decide if I can remember any of these 15 words."
Winds of Winter is almost here. I can feel it.
It was supposed to be done already, and just in editing last time.
Well,
when the last book came out, this one was already done and needed some minor tweaks. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever the hell it is.
Well, just imagine when we're going to get Dream of Spring.
I'm going to imagine him falling inside of a Norfolk Southern rail car right before it drives through some backwater town in some random-ass Midwest state.
Okay. I thought you were going to go a little further than that. But
yeah, so when they burn off whatever chemicals those are, they burn off George Martin too, and they do the world a favor. Because then he's dead. Right now,
well, is he hurting you right now?
I have this much hope inside, just the littlest bit. I cannot get rid of it. I have tried really hard. This much hope that he finishes that damn series. Just a little bit.
Well, he said he wants to.
And I want to be a marathon runner. I will tell you this. I will run my first marathon before he finishes that next book, much less the series.
I think Winds of
P.S.
Winter
for your listeners, I ain't running no damn marathon.
Well, it's our listeners, James. But I think Winds of Winter will at least get done. I'm not confident in you.
Zero faith in me.
And it'll be probably released posthumously.
Here's what's really going to happen. Winds of Winter and Rothfuss's third book, I don't remember what it's actually called, what the working title is for it right now. They'll both come out at the same time, and I'll get that announcement the same morning, right after I wake up, and that will be the day I die, because I will have a heart attack, not understanding the profoundness of these things that I've been waiting for a quarter of my life. Well, at this point.
Yep, they should release them, and then...
I'm just going to be like, and then I'm going to die, so I never get to read them. I'm going to have a heart attack right there.
And then they'll be at the same bookstore signing them, too.
Well, I'll be dead.
Sitting right next to each other.
I will have croaked. It won't matter.
Okay.
Handshakes, patty cake. Maybe they're eating waffles and ice cream together. Doesn't matter. I'm dead.
I don't want to see that playing patty cake. I don't want to picture that. It would be hard for Martin, considering the position he's always sitting in, which is leaned back.
Oh, the position I'm in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. My own reaches longer than my leg.
Yeah, but his is not, I guarantee you.
I don't know.
Anyway. Alright, so on Tycho. Fred, he wants their crew to... He basically wants... that was his excuse for being nice to him, because they basically flat out asked him. He said he wants to act as a mediator between Earth and Mars, so he wants their dispositions.
Yeah, because he wants to renegotiate the outer system's strengths and contracts, right?
Which is why I thought it was strange that he immediately was okay with them going on a dangerous mission. Or I would assume it might be dangerous. Can't get dispositions from dead folk.
I don't remember the exact conversation.
I think
how it plays out.
Let's see. Basically, Holden just says that he's bored and wants to take work. He receives a job from... they want to track down Lionel Polanski, the assumed name for a OPA operative, and he's on Arrow Station, apparently.
You know?
I think Holden's going to say he wants to claim his new ship, which I guess they're called it... Wrote it down. I'm not going to pronounce it correctly at all. I'm sure you have a different way of pronouncing it. Rocinante. That's what they renamed it.
Spell it for me.
Rocinante. Rocinante. Anyway, he was going to claim it as salvage, but...
probably a ch. I'd probably put a ch on it. Rocinante. I don't know. Yeah. It's clearly Latin-based. I don't know.
I guess, but they decided, I guess, that the Martian MCRN probably wouldn't believe that at all. So I guess they disguise it as a gas hauler. I think that's the last we get before they. And then Holden says, "All right, pack the kids. We're going to Eros," and that's where our section ended for them.
Yeah. Which is great because, again, Miller's about to meet them. Miller is probably the character I like most that we've been reading about so far, but I think that's by intention. So,
yeah.
Though I do like
anything you want to discuss.
I do like Havelock.
Well, I'm hoping Havelock comes back.
Out.
I don't know. He might come back later. I don't know. But before we, anything else you want to talk about Holden and his crew, or Fred Johnson and his station before we move on to?
Fred Johnson's just fake. I don't care about him at all. I'm sure that'll change, but as it stands for the 40% we've read so far, who cares? He's probably going to play a game either in this book or later books. Like, they wouldn't announce him with the backstory they gave him and then put him in position to be in charge of this much in the way of people and resources if he wasn't going to play a larger piece of the game at some point, whether it's this book or the next book or whatever. Or unless they just leave that as a loose end.
No, hopefully they wrap it up. But yeah, you're right, and I'm suspicious of him as well. But I didn't really form an opinion of him. He seemed pretty...
Again, like I said, Fred Johnson. He's the hot dog man from up the road, just pushing his cart. Ding, ding. Oh, look, there's Fred Johnson. And zoom out, and we're watching Leave It to Beaver.
I don't know if I came to that conclusion, but yeah, he is pretty...
Just the most boring, basic
regular.
Give him.
Yeah. Alright, so... Anything else you want to discuss about Holden's crew, like them getting drunk and letting loose or anything?
No, I don't think so.
Before we move on to... How do you feel about Tycho Station? It seems like they make it play it off like it's like a luxury place.
Where, like, on the one hand...
Didn't sound anything like whereas I picture the station that Miller is on.
Ceres
station. That seems like kind of run down and dingy, whereas Tycho came across to me as like a first class.
Yeah.
dwelling.
So I took it more differently. Ceres is well established and industrious, and so like to me it stands out more as like it's like an old established city, and it just has the time for that grime to build up and the people to fit their places and develop some sort of caste system that we inevitably human beings do everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know why I just pictured Tycho Station like bright and like artificially sunny. And
so it feels to me like it's new, it's fake, it's very much more corporate and like a corporate owned entity where everything has to look a specific way because somebody wants the image, right? Whereas Ceres feels more natural, more grungy, more city, more organic.
Yeah. Actually, we will watch the show, I guess, eventually. I don't want to get the second book spoiled for us inadvertently by watching the show, but I'm kind of curious how some of these locations will look if they're anything close to what I pictured.
I've seen some of Ceres because I made the mistake of not paying attention to the fact that you said we would watch this later.
Yeah, and I can promise you that I will watch the show quicker than
that's what
I read the book. But
and I'm not a big fan of the show, so which is weird because people seem to love it apparently, but it's not too much for me. There are characters that I've never.
Well, I think the problem is we started with the book, which is always better. The only time it's not is with The Mist. The Mist in the book and the movie are pretty much the same. Minor changes. And Thomas Jane is in both of those, ironically.
Thomas Jane's in the book?
He's in the Expanse series, and he's in The Mist.
Got ya!
It depends on what you're getting me. But, okay.
I made you blink your eyes and go, what a jackass. That's a got ya.
Well, if that's what you really wanted, then yes, you did. All right. Anything else you want to talk about with that side of the story before we move on to Miller?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Just, I will say, I've seen some series from the bit of the show that I watched. I put it on when I was going to sleep. I was like, we're reading it. I'm not going to get very far. I'm just going to fall asleep. I've seen some of what series looks like. It's kind of from the mill, sci-fi stuff. I didn't see any of Tycho Station. I don't even know if they go there or if they do what other movies / shows do with books where they just pretend, oh, we don't have the budget for that scenery, so we'll move it to a different place kind of deal. But I don't have any of that view. I will say, I picture Tycho Station being, again, because it feels more corporate, very clean and new and shiny. I almost feel like a lot of the Martian flagship interior and Tycho Station feel very much the same to me as far as background scenery. Crisp lines, clean, well maintained, well ordered.
Yeah.
Just very, very controlled. So between the two destinations,
Very fake. That's what we're getting at.
I mean, it's not fake. It's just
a little Stepford.
very controlled. Yeah, that's fair. Doesn't necessarily make it fake. Tychus would be more fake.
Well, that's what I was talking about. Tycho. It was a little.
Yeah. Or Tycho Station. Tychus. I don't know why I keep saying Tychus. But
I don't think any of us are pronouncing anything correctly.
The ship being that way would be very much for a reason and to a purpose, right? Because it is military. And so that fits that.
Yeah.
But then that also makes it feel very much like John Smith over here is running Tycho Station like a Lego village. And he's just, everything's under control. Everything's, regardless of the fact that they have the karaoke bar and they have people over here and they have people over there and they're building that giant 600-year space Mormon ship. Like,
yeah, well, I guess we'll see how it turns out, because the way the book is going, it seems like they're moving away. I don't know if they'll return to Tycho Station.
Yeah, that's fair.
It feels like they won't.
Maybe that's
back
part of the reason why we care nothing for the background scenery, whereas they spend a lot of time in the series.
Yeah.
And you get much more in the way of that. And even though, obviously, Holden's crew's not going there, and Miller is leaving, I bet we go back to Ceres. At least once more. It just seems to have been too much of a piece of this first 40% to not be going back.
Yeah. So yeah, eventually, I think they'll go back, maybe the second book, but I have a feeling once they,
I don't know.
I think they're gonna meet up with Miller. I think we're leading to that.
That's what I'm excited for. Because again, Holden and his crew are okay. They're not terrible. Miller is a little more exciting as a character, but
well, let's get to him then. So we picked up on this section with Miller going through Julie's files.
being infatuated, like a stalker.
Like obsessively going through them. He finds a message from her parents warning her of an attack, which might be a little suspicious. I think it was sent 2 weeks before the Canterbury was destroyed.
Yeah, that is kind of suspicious. I didn't really key in on that.
Yeah.
I mean, he brings it up a little bit, like.
But why would her parents know about the attack?
But yeah, right. So if it's unless they're working with one of the governments.
I think they're on. Her parents are on the moon. Luna.
Yeah.
So, is Luna
trying to cause a fight between Earth and Mars?
Yeah, is Luna involved at all? Because you don't think about the moon. We're thinking about planets, but apparently the moon is.
I guess that's fair. But don't they say the moon is mostly corporate? Which actually, who profits off of war? Corporations. So.
Yeah, for sure. Who was it? Anderson Dawes? That's the guy
yeah, he's the CD information guy.
Yeah, he's the leader of the Ceres branch of the OPA.
OPA, that's right.
Yeah.
Isn't he the guy that gets Miller fired?
Yeah. Well, no. I think it's a catalyst to it, but I don't think he actually tries to get him fired. I think it's the catalyst that leads into it. But we'll get there. But yeah, strangely enough, though, he tells him to stop searching, but then gives him information, like more information. Tells him that Julie was actually on the scopuli. And that Miller should... It's just funny for him to say, yeah, Julie was on there, but lay off the case. Give him a juicy tidbit and then expect him to just forget about it. I wouldn't know.
No, well, I mean, but maybe that tells you more about, because you see it in other places too, when he has a conversation with his new partner, when they fire him and he has that conversation with his boss, he's like, I can't trust you anymore, you used to be a good cop, but now you're not, kind of deal. Maybe that speaks to more to how people perceive Miller and less to how he perceives himself, because we get a lot of inner monologue to build out his character. But
you think maybe his outside appearance is different than what we're reading.
Yeah, because we're seeing so much more of his internal. So maybe they think he's the kind of person where he's just like, yeah, for sure, she was on that ship. So maybe he thinks he's the kind of person, like the outer perspective, without any monologue.
Well, he does get drunk
constantly,
and that's probably what people are seeing.
Yeah, so maybe he thinks he's one of those people where he's like, yeah, she was on it, but we know that nobody was on the ship when they found it, before their ship was blown up, so we knew the ship was empty, they've disappeared. This will put an end, because he's got nowhere to go with this. So I'll give him this tidbit, and it's not because it's juicy, because it's more because I don't think he'll put the effort into, look at him, he's a drunkard. He's not going to care. This will be the end of the case for him.
Yeah.
I'll give him this tidbit, and it will be the thing to make him go, this is a dead end. And I'll end it.
You think,
and, like, he wouldn't be going to Eros if he still had a job. So...
Do you think Julie Mao is alive, or...
Do I think she's alive?
It would be weird to begin the book with her if she's not. Although, George R. R. Martin begins his book with characters that we only randomly intersect, and they all mostly die. So.
Poor Ned.
Yeah.
Do I think she's alive? I don't think she's alive in the way that we would expect to see her and call it life. That fleshy, whatever it was, that had the blob that had her captain's face that starts talking to her. I'm more expecting to find out that she's been absorbed and become the dominant personality or something like that, or some shit.
That would be interesting.
Disappointing,
but
it depends how they write it. What is she going to get away?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're hoping...
And then go where?
If they followed her for 10 pages in the beginning of the story, you'd hope that...
Maybe that was just to introduce you to whatever that fleshy, blobby substance is.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's not going to... Like I said before, I have a feeling it's not going to be mentioned again for the rest of this book.
That could be. I don't know.
And we're going to have to wait for the later series, but... Yeah. So... anyway, Dawes tells him, to lay off because because Julie was a OPA member, and that they should handle it. Is his statement that he said.
Yeah.
And I guess he presents his findings to Captain. How are you saying her name in your head? Shadid?
I've been saying Shadid.
Shadid. That's what I've been saying too. Yeah, she tells him to drop the case too. That's where it goes from there. So she didn't fire him right then and there. But he becomes obsessed with it after that, I think. I think right when he's told to drop it, I think that's when his obsession starts and he keeps digging. I think she told him that she originally gave him the case because she thought he would be the one out of anybody she gave it to that wouldn't actually try and solve it.
Yeah.
And he really wasn't trying to solve it while Havelock was there.
Until he became Stalkery Creeper.
Yeah. Does it ever explain him, like, from his point of view, why he's obsessed with figuring out the case? Did he ever say it?
I don't...
Or is it just a feeling that he's having?
I think they just give it to a feeling. I don't remember anything that keys off of it. Because he just starts imagining her personality as it is, and we don't have anything of her personality really to go off of.
Yeah.
Just
neither do we.
Some of what she's done. And so we basically only have We only have those first, did you say 10 pages that we covered last time.
Yeah.
But also, and I mean, you get some feel for her personality there. She shuts up, she deals with it, she survives through it when everybody else doesn't. So that gives you something to her personality, or at least leads you to assume something about her personality, the kind of person she is. And then she's, I don't know if you know much about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but she's basically doing that. She climbs the belts fairly quickly, even when she's not actively always participating. So that gives you something of her personality too. Plus, she was a champion boat racer and or ship racer or whatever. I don't know why I said boat. I think he called it a boat, but I'm pretty sure it was like small spaceships.
Yeah, I mean, and we learned all this through Miller's research. So we didn't even know about this beforehand. So.
But I think he's probably building a personality, and because I don't know, he's a depressed drunk who's still regretting that his wife is gone. Maybe he's just becoming a creepo. I don't know, but yeah, it is very. For as much as I like his character, that infatuation doesn't make sense and again is very.
Well, it might not be in a creepy sense. It might sort of be more sort of like a like an OCD sense. Like he's got.
Nah, it doesn't feel OCD-ish.
Well, I guess we'll see in the next section. See how it expands.
Nothing about his pursuit of his imagination of who and what she is strikes me the same way that your need to touch the doorknob 7 times strikes me.
It's not just touch; you have to jiggle it.
Sure.
But anyway,
you get what I mean, though. It doesn't feel that way to me. It doesn't feel robotic. It doesn't feel habitual. I doubt he's, by habit, just clings on to whatever case and becomes infatuated with whoever he's working on. He didn't deal that way with that one rape case. He didn't deal that way with the one prostitute that he was talking to. He humanized her a little more to make it easy because they were both from the same, like they're both from Ceres, so he knows the local language, but he doesn't, there's nothing habitual or robotic about what he's doing there.
Alright, fair enough.
So
yeah, I mean, they don't really go into detail about, I mean, they just describe his feelings, but they don't go into detail about him having them, like...
he's being creepy.
Like why he's having them.
Yeah, you're right. They don't touch on why at all. I'm assuming, and maybe I'm supposed to, maybe I'm not. I don't know.
Oh, well, we'll see. I'll give him until the next section to see what I think. But I guess he had a replacement partner for Havelock was Octavia Muss.
I said Muss. This is very German. Mussen. I've gone with Muss.
They seem like they had
what it is.
Fun banter back and forth, I guess, until she tells him that he's basically the joke of the station.
Yeah, he's washed up.
And I guess that sends him into his deep drunken depression.
Well, I mean, between that and the bullshit with the guy we just talked about.
Yeah.
Dawes.
Well, yeah, and I think...
so it's just bam, bam, and then bam for the thing we haven't covered yet, but...
Now, the station started going... she fires him in the middle of the station going crazy, right?
She fires him...
Complete anarchy.
Doesn't she fire him when Earth pulls out and leaves him on their own?
Yeah.
I would say that when the station starts going crazy is from last time where they're missing their riot gear and he has the thug kneecapped.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that it's complete anarchy now. That's what happened when.
Oh, that's fair.
When we ended.
Yeah, well,
not just random riots. Like
doesn't his partner go off
disarray.
and beat the shit out of somebody or kill somebody or something like that too?
Who's that?
The Moose.
Does she?
I think she makes a comment And then the Earth pulls out, and then she says she needs to take some time and be in later or something like that. And it leaves it very much like she just went and broke a law that doesn't matter because now there's no law. And then he gets fired.
I'm pretty sure. I think him being fired, sort of surprised me enough that I kind of forgot what she did. But yeah, I guess that's a good point.
I think there was someone she really despised, and she probably went.
Yeah, I think it was a rapist, right? That didn't.
Was it a rape thing? Okay.
Yeah, because it doesn't. Right before Miller is fired, doesn't he go and collect him?
I don't. He does do something with a rape case where someone gets away with it for a while.
Yeah, but then he showed up and arrested them.
Yes. I don't know if that's where she went. I'd have to go reread it again.
But yeah.
I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, it was sort of a side.
But it gives you a
story.
It gives you like he's fired, but also there's no law anymore. So for what he did do of his job, and what he seemed to cling to as like, hey, there's no law here, but we are the law and we keep the order, and that's gone. And he's fired, so it's like a break. It's like a multi-layer break, and then he leaves Ceres. Well, he's about to leave Ceres.
Yeah, and Dawes, I think. Well, while he's being fired, doesn't Dawes accidentally, like, unintentionally reveal that Holden is still alive? I think that sort of sparks Miller's.
Did she?
Dawes does. While he's in the office with Shadid, I think he accidentally lets on. Like, I don't think he intentionally mentioned it, because I think Shadid sort of was unhappy with him bringing that up, but I think he mentioned that Holden is alive, because they were assuming he was dead when the Donnager was
completely
destroyed. Yeah.
I have to reread for that again, too.
So, and he said, basically, I guess since Holden was the first one to see Julie's ship, Miller wants to know how this all ties together. So, and he actually, I think he figures it out. I think he's trying to figure out, because he got docking ship logs for, that he requested before he was fired, but after he was fired, they still came to him. Or no?
Because it wasn't important enough, and he wasn't looking for something specifically flagged. Yeah, he was looking for other ships with, I don't remember what they're calling it, hyperspace capability. Not hyperspace, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but then he sees...
What is their fucking engine called? Some kind of drive?
Yeah.
He was just looking for ships that could move really far.
Of course, now that you're, like, I always see it, but now that you're mentioning it, I forget the name of the drive.
Whatever. I think that's what he was checking, right? Ships that could actually move that distance. I forgot that it was because he let it slip. I thought he was just chasing leads. Okay.
Holtzman Drive.
Okay.
And I think it's just a fictional character that invented it in this universe. But,
sure. They all are.
I mean, like, some of the stuff could be based off of real life, but I mean, like, yeah, it's not based on anything.
Oh, are you trying to tell me that we don't have we don't have a Holtzman drive in real life?
I'm just saying that there isn't anybody that, like, you know, like, Albert Einstein thought of the theory of relativity, so some science fiction stories like to name, you know, gravity bending devices after him and stuff like that. But,
got you.
No, Holtzman is completely made up, but, which was my point. It's like, it's not based on anything at all in real life. So, but, yeah, he's looking, I think so Miller's section ends with him looking through all that stuff, and he just so happens, based on a feeling, which I kind of felt like was
MacGuffin?
Yeah, or Deus Ex Machina. Basically just, I have a feeling this Reconada ship that's due to dock at Eros is Holden.
Could be.
Yeah. So So he gets ready to leave for there. And then the book ends with, with Holden saying, pack the kids up, we're going to Eros. So basically, the section that we just ended is ending with both of them, both characters going to Eros.
Yeah.
So, which is I think another asteroid in the asteroid belt, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably. Is it? It's not a moon?
Yeah, it is an asteroid.
Okay.
But it is a near-Earth object. It's not in the asteroid belt. Basically, yeah, that's where it ends. So, we basically discussed the whole section. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I don't think so. Nothing that stands out.
Yeah.
I think it covered everything in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't touch too much on that whole arrest the rapist guy, but I guess it's not.
It was like half a page. That was a couple of pages.
It was a couple pages, but I mean, they made a point to, flesh it out as a story, but.
I don't know. Sure.
Alright. Alright, well, if that's it, then that'll be it for section 2. Alright, thanks for joining us.